Next, we need to give this data an index. So index is equal to square brackets 01. So these are going to sort of correspond with this last bit over here. 01, 02, 03. So 01, 02, 03, 04. This might get tedious, but you got to do it. 05, 06, 07. Next line. 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. In quotes. Okay, so that's the data, and then we need to name the columns. You'll see now, columns equal to days, quotes. So let's read in this data frame. What's this saying? End of line while scanning strings, literal. This should work. Let's see if it doesn't. It's because I don't have a quote here. See, this is why I got to type it in one by one, even though I've got it already. You can see me typing it in, and you still make these little mistakes. There we go. Days df. Bang. So there's our mapping table to map these months to how many days are in each of the months. So great, done that. So the next thing is we need to pull out a list of all the stocks in the index of this EPS df. EPS df. So on the left you got a list of all the stocks over here. So we need to pull that out. So let's just call that pull out list of all stocks in index. So where we are is we're pulling out a list of all the stocks in the index of this EPS df. So the way we do that is very simple. Stock list, creating a variable, is equal to list brackets. So list is you're just creating a new data structure. So if I pull out what I'm about to type here is EPSDF.index. That's pulling out all the stock names over there. Now we want to put those names into a separate list. So list EPSDF.index. Let's run this code. Okay, it works. Stock list. Let's look what comes back. Okay, so that's now in a list. So what I can do is I can go, I want the first 5, so colon 5. Cool. Or I want just number 4. Cool. Or we got good old Apple. Number 7. Hey. So we're going to need that later. So that's the next part. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. what we need to do, I'm just going to create some quotes just to describe what's going on here. We need something, pull out current date. So one, we pull out a list of the current stock with relevant headings. So what that means is in this data, we're going to pull out just Apple's line. Okay? Or whatever, the relevant stock, just their line. And as you can see, there's all these unused headings, but we'll get to that. So first, we're going to pull that out. Second, assign the current date starting with the last day of the month per mapping table. So what this is going to do is, say the last of the month, the 31st is a Sunday. That's not going to pull back any data. So we're gonna start there, and then if that doesn't pull anything back, we're going to try the 30th. And that doesn't bring anything back, we're going to then try the 29th. So that's just a way of getting the sort of last day that brings back data. 2, 3. If the length of data container is equal to 0, then it continues to try the previous day. So that's just what I said. 4, if it's 4, it stops when it finds data and stores it in the price. So that's a list price, list container. You'll see how that works now. 4 and then 5. It looks over the last 5 years to do this. Okay. So let's set this up. So we need to create the big data frame to store all the data. So just stick with me for this. So what that will be is imaginatively titled big df is equal to pd dot data frame columns. So let's just get some more lines in this. Columns. So this is kind of just an empty data container. List here, which is going to be E1. So this is the format that we're ultimately going to import into Excel to do our discounted cash flow valuation, which is going to be 5 years of earnings and then 5 years of the corresponding price. So E1, E2, E3, E4, E5. And then price, P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. Okay, so this is an empty data frame with just headings where we're going to be storing all of the information once we pull it out. So big df, there you go. We got column headings and no data. So we need to do that. So next, before we start looping anything, so we need to pull out of whatever the current stock is that we're working on. Ultimately, this is going to be in a big loop, so let's just put it in the loop for now. So for Z, just picking Z because Z in range 0 to len of the stock list that we pulled out just above. Stock list. Now let's just indent the data because that's what you do. Yes, I have a capital stock list. Okay, so we got that loop in there. So we're using Z. So then the first thing we need to do is pull out the name of the stock, or the stock that we're working with. So I'm going to call this just a particular line, which means so just one line out of all of this we're going to be pulling out. So st name is equal to stock list square brackets Z. For now we're going to go with good old Apple, so Z is equal to 7 because Apple is number 7 in the list. So st name, hey look, it's Apple. Great. So now we're going to have some fun with the data frame. To pull out just one line of this, so just the Apple line, is this lock function. So car stock, creating a new variable, creating a new data frame, is equal to EPS df, which is this data frame that we read in the beginning, dot lock, to pull out just one line, lock, and then square brackets inside square brackets, st name. So that's pulling out something in the index. So just what that'll bring back, you put that in here, car stock. So it's bringing back all the empty columns, the NANs, as well as the actual data. But it's brought back just Apple. So the next thing we need to do is we want to get rid of all the NANs in here. So what we do is we go dot drop NA, and then axis is equal to 1. So that's horizontally, comma how is equal to all. That's how the function works. So if we run this again, type in car stock, hey, it's brought back just the relevant columns, which is great, what we need. So next, so now we need to create some data containers. Price is equal to an empty list. That's a list to hold the price data. And then, well, we'll get to that. So now this is where it starts to get fun. What we need to do is where we've got these dates over here, we need to assign a start date. So before we do that, we need to create a container, another container to hold the data. Containers, lots of containers all over the place. So data is equal to that, an empty, you'll see now because this is going to go inside of a loop. So data, and the reason for this is to reset the data container. Stick with me with this because you'll see how it all comes together in the end. So right now we've got our start time, and then we're going to need to change this. So what we're going to do is we're going back 5 years. We want to do this 5 times. So this whole bit of code, pulling out the data, we need to do 5 times. So instead of writing the code 5 times, let's put in a for loop. So for j in range 0, 5, and let's just indent this. We're going to do all of that. Okay. Now, we want to, so we've got this variable here, current stock, which is bringing out this. We want to bring out just the columns, starting at the end. So if I type in car stock dot columns, brings back that.